Hello everyone, welcome to the Haunted House. My name's Ghost, and welcome back to another episode of History with the Ghosts. We all know about the two nuclear bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but I doubt you know that there was a third bomb that they had planned to drop. Today, we are talking about the Demon Core. The Japanese resilience and loyalty during World War II was strong. Soldiers would rather die than become prisoners. Truman was eager on ending the war quickly and without many US casualties, and the best way in their minds to do that was nuke Japan, making them surrender. The US had, of course, the Manhattan Project going, which would produce the Fat Man and the Little Boy. The US was worried they wouldn't surrender, so they also made a third bomb, the Demon Core. The Demon Core was made at the Los Alamos Laboratory in New Mexico. Um, it was made in 1945, though the exact date is not known. A couple months after it was made, Japan formally surrendered to America um, after the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings. Because of Japan's surrender, the Demon Core was never made into a proper nuclear bomb. Uh, Instead, they kept it at Los Alamos for testing. The Demon Core was made up of a 8 inches in diameter and 14-pound spear of plutonium gallium alloy, which is, funny enough, a more stable version of regular plutonium. It's more stable and isn't as brittle as regular plutonium, uh, because it has alloy in it, so it can be worked into different shapes and forms. Um, in the Demon Core shape case, a spear. These tests that I mentioned before has to be the biggest game of F around and find out ever. The people who agreed to help with these tests had massive balls. Um, they would conduct what was known as criticality tests, or I'm not joking, tickling the dragon's tail test. They knew exactly how dumb this was and still did these tests. Criticality tests were basically where you would irritate the radioactive material into a critical state or nuclear reaction, and you keep that reaction running basically forever. Uh, if you wanted, it's the best way I can describe it. Without my brain exploding, no pun intended. There's probably a way better, more complicated way to explain it, but my brain can't comprehend that. Um, the US would do these crazy tests for 9 months, and in those 9 months, two people would die from these tests. On the 21st of August 1945 at Los Alamos, scientist Harry Daghlian was conducting a criticality test, specifically a neutron reflector criticality test. Basically, you would place these tungsten carbide bricks around the demon core. Tungsten carbide is a very good at deflecting and shielding radiation. When you would put these bricks around the demon core, the neutrons coming off the demon core would reflect off the carbide and back into the demon core, which would cause it to freak out and go into that critical stage. Harry was setting up one of these bricks when he got a alert that the addition of the final brick would put it into a supercritical point. Um, while trying to get rid of the block, he dropped it on top of the demon core, which put the demon core into the supercritical point. He tried moving the brick, but was unsuccessful at first. After another try, he finally got it off, but by this point, he'd received a fatal dose of radiation. He had a massive radiation burn on his hand from removing the brick. He died 25 days later. This dude kind of did himself in. I feel like he was completely alone in the room. He had no one around to help him, just a security guard. He went back to the lab to work after hours, which wasn't allowed. So I feel like he kind of did deserved it. The next accident would be on the 21st of May, 1946. Kind of weird how they both start with 21. Louis Slotin, another scientist at Los Alamos, was conducting a criticality test showing other scientists how it worked, but this one was a little different. Instead of tungsten carbide bricks, it was two small half spheres of beryllium that surrounded the core. Beryllium was another good reflector like carbide, though the methods Slotin used was way more effective as it almost fully enclosed the demon core, making it freak out even more um, with the atoms bouncing off. To make sure the core doesn't completely freak out and kill everyone, you would keep a little gap between the two half spears so the core could breathe. Basically, um, you would do this using a screwdriver to hold them up. Nothing could go wrong, right? Right? Spoiler alert, it did. While demonstrating this test, the screwdriver slipped and the core was fully enclosed for a couple seconds before Slotin flipped the top spear off the core with his hand. The core produced so much radiation in those few seconds, Slotin died 9 days later. Thankfully, because of the Slotin's quick actions, no other scientists in the room died. Louis Slotin is buried at the Shed Zak Cemetery in Manitoba, Canada, and Harry Daghlian is buried at the Cedar Grove Cemetery in New London, Connecticut. The Demon Core was so dangerous, it was melted down not long after and used for actual nuclear bombs for the US nuclear arsenal. And that's about everything about the Demon Core, the biggest game of F around and find out. This was a fun one despite having to learn all these new fancy words and what things do. But yeah, um, if you like this video, please give it a like and a follow, and I'll see you next time.